I don't know exactly when it happened, but I think it started when I was young. I think it starts out with all of us when we're young. You come to that place where you start asking questions, and the first question that we always ask is why. Right? Our parents tell us we're supposed to do something. Why? That is the first question that I think we always ask. And I don't think that ever has changed in my life. This last week, God's brought me through a process, brought me through myself asking questions, why? Why do I do what I do? Why do I continue to struggle in certain areas of my life? Why in the world don't you care? Why don't I care? You ever been there? I think it's shifted for me because in college I started taking a minor in philosophy. All right, so you study all the great minds. In fact, one of my favorite things, and I wish I had brought it. It's the thinker, the guy who's sitting naked on the stone, with his with his hand up to his chin and just thinking. And I remember when I graduated from, I think it was college, somebody bought me one of those, and it still sits in my bathroom, and every day I look at that, and sometimes I think, yeah, hey, he's naked, he should be in my bathroom, right? He's the, yeah. And I think, as I look at him, I think about what am I thinking about? Because I go back to college and I think about Socrates and Plato and the things that we started discussing at that time. Who is God really? What's the origin of God? How did sin really form? Not paying really any attention to the Bible, but going through the philosophical arguments of why do things happen the way they happen. It is if a tree falls in a forest and no one's there to hear it, does it make a sound? Stupid questions, but questions that actually make your mind think, make you go beyond the point of just accepting a statement as truth, but questioning everything. And I think I was there. And I don't really know how it happened. It's not the first time it's happened. Been there before. But somewhere in the past week, since last Saturday, I came back to that place where I started asking myself the question, those tough questions. Where exactly are we, God? I ask those questions because it comes to a place and certain times in my life where He's so far away that I don't feel Him. In fact, I think in the past week I've been living on whispers of what God has done in the past, whispers of things that He had done in and around me and through me, whispers of something that was so long ago. And I had to go in and start reflecting, God, why? Why am I doing what I'm doing? And does it even matter anymore? Why do I follow you? If I don't feel you, I feel like there's this huge disconnection in my life. I can start seeing that happen when it starts with my thought life. It goes into my relationships with my wife and my office staff, and I start seeing cracks start to open up. And I think, why? Does it ever matter? Will things ever change? Will I ever get victory over this, or am I going to constantly struggle with this the rest of my life? I see heads nodding. I know you've been there. And I go there. And it all came to a culmination on Thursday. Will and I were sitting down, and we were meeting as we do every Thursday, and just talking about life and you guys and what God's doing. And as we were getting near the end of our time together, I just felt this need, and I just started opening my mouth, and I started blurbing things out. See, I don't get a chance to talk very often. I don't get a chance to just throw it all out there. I try to as much as possible, but there's that certain connection that he and I have where I'm totally comfortable with saying the things that I say and throwing the questions out there. And my question at the end of our conversation is this all there is? Have I reached a plateau? Am I ever going to get any more from God? Is my life going to change anymore? Or am I just going to be stuck right here? Because I'm already seeing myself pull away, stepping away, thinking I'm not making any difference. I don't really matter. Nothing matters. And so that was the question I asked. Is this all there is? And God's taken me through a process this week, which I wanted to share with you, which comes back to where we are, comes back to who we are. Are we living on whispers of the past? Is God really moving in your life, or are you just kind of showing up? And maybe he's never really moved in your life. Maybe it's just that I can get in there in the middle of this and I can be a part of this, and I just kind of flow in there and it's easy. But my life at home, at work, wherever I am, my relationships are an absolute disaster. You see, I think the followers of Jesus in the Bible had that same issue. And this is where God took me this week, so I've got to share it with you. And I struggle with this. I wrote this thing up, and last night I hit an impasse. I had my opening and I had my closing, but I couldn't get to where I wanted to. And it came to the point where I was on the phone with Steve Collins last night, and we prayed. And once again, it came back to me. I'm doing this in my own strength. I'm trying to do this on my own. And I'm struggling so hard with trying to take control back, trying to do this thing again. And I realized all I needed to do was open my hands and let it go. So everything you hear today is me opening my hands and let it go. Jesus had just fed the 5,000 men. Then there were additional women and children. He had just taken the 5 loaves of bread and the 2 fishes and had broken them and had fed all these people, and they collected the 12 baskets of leftovers. He had headed up to the mountain to pray. He had sent the disciples across the river to go over to Capernaum. The people were still hanging around. They were pressing in. They wanted more of what Jesus had done. The next day they looked for him. They couldn't find him, so they started going to Capernaum. And they found him there. All of these people wanting to follow Jesus because he had fed them. And he goes into this talk about, I am the bread of life. And he tells them some hard things. He talks to them about some very difficult things. Things that they grumbled about. He looked at them and he said, you're coming to me just because I fed you. He said, but you're going to be hungry again. He said, I am the bread of life. And then, this is what happens. As he talks to them, they push back. They don't understand. They were following him because he had taken care of them. When there was no food, he had done this miracle. And he comes to them, and he says these hard things, and this is their response. On hearing it, many of his disciples said, this is a hard teaching. Who can accept this? And Jesus says, aware that the disciples were grumbling about this, Jesus said to them, does this offend you? What if you see the Son of Man ascend to where he was before? The Spirit gives life. The flesh counts for nothing. The words I have spoken are spirit, and they are life. Yet some of you do not believe. And it says, from this time, many of his disciples turned back and no longer followed him. And then Jesus turns around and looks at the 12 that have been following him the longest time. And he asks them this question, and it's the question I want to ask you. The question that I came up against this week. You do not want to leave me too, do you? And I came to that crossroad, and I think we all come there, where Jesus' words come back, and I'm confronted with this situation where he's asking me, are you going to leave me too? Are you going to walk away? I felt him when he changed my life, but that was a long time ago. And if I'm living on whispers, if I'm living on something he's done in the past, then I come back to that place where he's asking me, and I think he's asking us every day, are you going to leave me too? Because honestly, guys, I hate to tell you, but at least a third of you guys probably won't be here in another year. You'll come here, you'll encounter God and community and all of these things, and I can tell you this based on the last 4 years that we've been doing this. And life will happen, and disasters will come in, and relationships will get destroyed, or you will hear something that Jesus says that are hard things to hear. And you'll make that choice to turn away and walk away.